Welcome to the LabChart Lightning Advanced Custom Calculations demonstration video. In this video we will look at some further custom calculation techniques. 1. Using multiple inputs and outputs in a custom calculation. 2. Using calculation parameters. And 3. Saving custom calculations for reuse. Up to now we have looked at custom calculations with a single input and single output. However, in Lightning, custom calculations can have multiple inputs and outputs. We'll start with a simple smoothing custom calculation. We add a second output by dragging an output node from the function library to the canvas. The new output node can be placed anywhere you like, but in general, output should be on the right-hand side of the canvas area. We now drag a second smooth seconds function node to the canvas. We connect it to the PL input 1 input node and the second output node. We set the length to 0.1 for the first smooth seconds node and 0.2 for the second smooth seconds node. The preview will now show 3 signals: the source or input signal and 2 output signals that are the result of our calculation. Custom calculations may contain as many outputs as needed. Each output node produces a corresponding calculated signal. We will now make a custom calculation with 2 inputs and 2 outputs. We start with a channel that has 2 different signals. We add a custom calculation by clicking on one of the signals in the chart view header and clicking on the Add Calculated Signal button. Our new custom calculation begins with a single input and single output node on the canvas. We add an additional input and an additional output by dragging them from the function library to the canvas. The custom calculation we will design will output 2 signals. The first signal will be the difference between the 2 input signals, and the second output signal will be the sum of the 2 input signals. The signal that is the sum of the 2 inputs is created by dragging an add function node from the function library to the canvas and connecting the 2 input nodes to it as its sources. The difference between the input signals is calculated by using a subtract function. We drag the subtract function node from the function library to the canvas and once again connect the 2 input nodes to it as its sources. The add function node is connected to the top output node and the subtract function node is connected to the bottom output node. There will now be 4 signals shown in the preview. We can remove some of the clutter in the preview by clicking on the eye icon in both of the input nodes. This temporarily hides them from the preview so we can see more detail in the output signals. Clicking on Add Calculation saves the calculation. The 2 new output signals will now be visible in chart view. An autoscale may be required to view the signals. Many times we will want to reuse custom calculations across different recordings within a project. Custom calculations can be saved to the function library for reuse. Once saved, custom calculations can be used as many times as needed, quickly and easily, without the need to redefine them. Calculation parameters add an extra level of flexibility by allowing saved calculations to accept values via input fields. To demonstrate these 2 technologies, we'll start with a previous example where we created a custom calculation that created 2 outputs with differing degrees of signal smoothing. We start by dragging a parameter node to the canvas. A selected parameter node can be configured by clicking on the clog icon. A parameter can have a name, a description, a type, for instance numeric, and a range of valid values. If you specify these, they will form part of the documentation for the custom calculation when it is saved. If you specify a range, Lightning will ensure only numbers in this range can be used. Once the parameter has had a value specified, it can be connected to the length inputs for both of the smooth seconds nodes. Note that when the parameter is connected to the smooth seconds nodes, the internal input field is disabled. With the parameter node connected, both smooth seconds nodes are now using the same value for length. We now drag a multiply node to the canvas between the parameter node and the bottom smooth seconds node. If a value of 2.0 is entered for the Y input of the multiply node, the parameter value is doubled for the bottom smooth seconds node. When the value in the parameter node is changed, the bottom smooth seconds node always uses double the value. To save this calculation for reuse, click on the Save a Copy to Function Library button at the bottom right of the Custom Calculation dialog. A unique name must be given for the calculation. This is how it will be found in the Function Library and Simple Calculation pop-up menu. In the example here, the calculation has been named Multi-Smooth. While the description is optional, it is often a good idea to provide one, as it will be used to form documentation for the saved calculation. Once the Save to Library button is clicked, the calculation is available to be used throughout this and other recordings. In this example, I have switched to another recording in the same project. To reuse the saved calculation, select a signal and choose Add Calculated Signal. From the Calculation pop-up menu, look in the Saved Calculation section for the multi-smooth function. Note that the save function can be used in other custom calculations as well. It can be found by typing a partial or complete name into the function library search field. This function node will behave as any other custom calculation function node. To view documentation on the custom calculation node, click on the I button just above the node. Note the presence of the range, parameter type, and calculation description in the documentation.